Welcome to the first ever live streaming course of Breaking into Yacht Brokerage, a course really designed to help the many people who write to me because they love the look of the lifestyle of being a yacht broker. They look at the yachting industry and they think, I could do that. I could be a yacht broker if I was just given the opportunity, if I could just get my foot in through the door. The idea of this course, which I hope to run for many weeks or even months or even indefinitely, who knows, is to give information about how you do get in through the door of yacht brokerage. Excuse me one moment. How you do get in through the door of yacht brokerage, how you can be considered to be a yacht broker, how you can find clients, how you can network. And before we really get started, I just would ask if anybody is watching, if they can confirm that they can hear me, first of all, because I'm new to the live stream. I see Super Yacht Captain's already here. He's always ahead of the curve, and he's saying hello, David. So I assume that he can also hear me. Julian Stark says yes, so thank you very much. Before we get started with the actual subject of breaking into brokerage, just a little bit of kind of housekeeping to set the scene of what I'm intending to do. The first thing is that to make this into a logical, progressive course in which each week there's new information and in which it builds upon your knowledge of how to become a yacht broker, I'll start by just basically talking to you for 10 to 15 minutes about specific things. Feel free to ask questions during that time, but be aware I probably won't answer the questions immediately until I've finished the first part of the course, which is, as I say, 10, 15 minutes. After that, I'll start to answer any questions that you have. Now, questions with super chats associated, of course, will be answered maybe more thoroughly and will be prioritized. And in fact, all super yacht questions will be answered. But if you're not in a position to pay a super chat, I'll do my best still to answer the question that you have. Also, questions which are relevant to the topic will be prioritized over those that maybe have nothing to do with it whatsoever, because I do want this time to be spent in a way that helps as many people as I possibly can help. On the subject of super chats, I did a trial live stream on Wednesday, which went tremendously well, and I missed one super chat, and it was an important super chat. It was a super chat from Tristan Mortlock, who has a channel called Super Yacht Captain, and he was super chatting me to let me know that I had my shoulder covering his mug. And by his mug, I don't mean his face, I mean this. The Super Yacht Captain mug. I was covering it up. I'm terribly sorry about that, Tristan. I'm going to put it somewhere now where maybe it's a little bit more visible. That should be a bit better. Anybody wants to send me a mug and a super chat, and I'll replace it with Tristan's. Tristan's, I'll put yours somewhere else where it can still be seen, of course. So let's get down to it. Breaking into yacht brokerage. Tristan, thank you very much. Another super chat. I owe you many, many beers when I see you next time. Bear with me one moment while I set myself up with my notes. So, as we've said, this course is really for people who look at the world of yachting and presumably watch my channel and watch the videos of yachts and think, what a wonderful life that must be, what a wonderful business to be involved in. How on earth do I get into that business? During the course, we'll be talking about all aspects of it, but there's a saying, isn't there, that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. And so this first part of the course is really talking about those first steps that you need to take to even get onto the radar of people who are buying yachts, to get even onto the radar of people who have yacht brokerage companies. And the first thing that needs to be said that may sound incredibly obvious, but it's an important thing to say. If you're watching from Detroit, from Milwaukee, from Alice Springs, the biggest obstacle that you have is that you're living in a place where there are no yachts. And it's very, very difficult to be in the yachting industry unless you're living in a place where there are yachts. That's not always the case, but it's usually the case. I mean, London, for example, London's a city where there are plenty of yacht brokerages because many, many super wealthy people pass through London all the time. New York, although New York also has some yachts there as well. But for example, Zurich is another place where there's yacht brokerages because there's wealthy people there who have yachts. But generally speaking, if you want to break into yacht brokerage, the first step that you need to make is to get somewhere where there are yachts. Now, for example, this could be, if you're in America, South Florida. Fort Lauderdale is considered the world yachting capital, but also Miami and pretty much all over South Florida along the coast, there are big yachting communities. Where there's a yachting community, there's yacht owners, there's yachts for sale, and there's business for a yacht broker. The Balearic Islands in the Mediterranean, especially Mallorca, is a massive yachting community. Palma de Mallorca has got refit yards, there's marinas there, and again, there's yacht owners, there's sellers, there's buyers, there's products to sell. The south of France, especially Monaco and Antibes, has a huge brokerage community, as does just over the border a place called San Remo. Actually, the Italian border is very much underestimated on this subject because if you just cross over the border to San Remo, you've got a huge port there. You've got another massive marina called Port Maurizio, which is in Imperia, down towards Genoa. There's many marinas in Genoa. And again, where there's marinas, there's yachts. Where there's yachts, there's owners. Where there's yachts and owners, there's business. Newport, Rhode Island, San Diego in California, Sydney in Australia, Phuket, if that's the right way to pronounce it, because the other way of pronouncing it is not very flattering. Hong Kong. These are places where there's yachts, there's owners, there's business to be done. Most of those places, though, have one thing in common, and I can almost hear some people's thoughts as they're listening to this. That a lot of those places are very expensive places to live. And again, if you're listening from Milwaukee or Detroit or Alice Springs, it might be that you're saying, yeah, thanks, David, I knew that. But how am I ever going to be able to afford to live in Monaco? How am I going to be able to afford to live in Hong Kong or Fort Lauderdale? So what I want to do is to give you 5 useful tips in this week's course on how you can move to those places on a budget and in a realistic manner. The first tip is this, and actually I'm hoping that this has worked correctly, and you can see this in the description below the video, and I'm referring you to a resource called yachtingpages.com. That's yachting-pages.com. It's a fantastic resource with lots and lots and lots of information about the yachting industry, and it has a little search engine tool within the website. And if you put in that search engine crew houses or crew accommodation, you'll find lots and lots of accommodation at an absolute knockdown price. In many yachting communities in the world, there are crew houses which are designed to let usually young people who want to start out as crew at least get themselves into an area where there's industry and there's potential for work and be able to live in an affordable manner. You're not going to be in a 5-star hotel, you're not going to be in the lap of luxury, but you'll be in a place that you can afford, meeting the sort of people that you need to meet, and it's a start to getting your foot into the yachting industry. First of all, don't think that you have to spend a lot of money to go regularly to Monaco or Antibes or Mallorca or any of those places that I mentioned. Don't think that everybody in the yachting industry has a ton of money, because they don't. There's a lot of people living on a budget who've figured out how to work on a budget. So there's absolutely no shame whatsoever getting onto Yacht Pages or just Googling crew house in the area that they're thinking of going to, and you can find budget accommodation there. That links on to the second of my 5 tips, which is really important. Once you're there, you get yourself in the crew house, you get yourself some accommodation that you can afford. Don't get drawn in to the drinking culture of yachties. You can just imagine a place like Antibes or Palma de Mallorca or Fort Lauderdale, where you have lots of yachts, lots of crew, very often quite well paid crew who are living on board the yacht, so they have no bills to pay. Often they're fed on board the yacht, and what they have is a lot of expendable cash, and they're young, and there's pubs, and there's bars, and there's strip clubs, and there's restaurants, and it's too easy to stumble at the first hurdle of getting yourself sorted out in one of those areas and going out for a drink. And before you know it, you're with yacht captains and chief engineers and all kinds of people in the industry. Everybody's having a blast, having lots to drink. And you think, I'm networking. This is networking. That chief engineer told me that his boss is looking for a new yacht. That deckhand told me that his boss is thinking of selling a yacht. I'm a broker. I can do these deals. Big, 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 big mistake. Lots of things are said under the effect of alcohol. Lots of things are said which turn out not to be true. In all likelihood, in any case, the owner of the yacht will be talking directly to a broker. And all that you're doing is you're spending all of your money, and you can do it very, very quickly on alcohol and booze. You run out of money and you have to go back to wherever it is that you've come from. So don't make that mistake. Use your money for your rent, use your money wisely, because it might take you a long time to be able to get into a position with your career when you can get into yacht brokerage. Then when you've got into it, you sell your first yacht, knock yourself out, go and have a few bottles of Dom Perignon and have a big celebration. But those initial days and months that you're in a new area, be wise with your money. Don't get drawn into the drinking culture which exists in the yachting industry. Third tip of the 5 tips, don't be afraid to ask people for cheap options on how to live in the area. As I mentioned to you earlier, don't think for a moment that everybody in yachting is rich. It's absolutely not the case whatsoever. And if you're open with people and you tell them that you're looking for budget accommodation or budget places to eat, they will tell you. I mean, I will tell you quite honestly, I lived in Monaco, or I had an apartment in Monaco for 2 years, and it almost ruined me financially. It's an extremely expensive place to live. And so I had to find cheap options. I'd go very many times to the supermarket that's down there by the starting grid or close to the starting grid of the Formula One. And I'd just buy sandwiches. I found a pizzeria there, which I could go for under €10 and have a pizza and a beer in the evening. Funnily enough, Jenson Button, the Formula One driver, and his girlfriend came in once and sat at the table next to me. So Jenson has no problem with eating in fairly cheap places too. There's nothing to be ashamed of whatsoever to just ask people for their advice on places that you can go and eat or live, which is budget accommodation. Fourth tip that I'm going to pass on to you. Join local Facebook groups. Usually where there's a yachting community, there's a Facebook group that goes along with it. That will put you in contact with many other people who are in a similar situation to you. And again, they can give you advice on where you can stay. And generally speaking, my honest experience has been that generally speaking, a lot of people in the yachting industry who have made it are sometimes a little bit aloof to give advice to others. But those who are still working at it have a tremendous community spirit and are often very, very generous with their advice and their assistance to other people who are genuinely trying to make it in the yachting industry. Fifth and final piece of advice for this part of the course, find a broker buddy. Now, I said a broker buddy because it starts with a B and buddy starts with a B, and I thought that sounded pretty good. It doesn't have to be a broker buddy. It can just be any sort of a buddy whatsoever. If you're sharing accommodation with somebody else and they're also in a similar situation to you, first of all, it keeps your morale high. It's somebody to talk to. It's somebody to exchange ideas with. And of course, it halves a lot of your expenses. So let me quickly recap on that. First thing you've got to do if you want to break into brokerage, get yourself into a place where there are yachts. Because where there are yachts, there are yacht owners, buyers, sellers, there's business, there's networking to be done. If that sounds very, very expensive, it really doesn't have to be. Check out Yachting Pages, Google crew houses for the area that you've decided to live on. Don't get drawn in to the drinking culture where you can lose a lot of money. And I've seen it happen so often that people just go there, end up partying the whole time. They make some lovely memories, but they'll never, never be able to last and actually get into the industry. Don't be afraid to ask people. Don't think everybody's rich. Everybody's not. A lot of people are having to find a way to keep going in the yachting industry. Join local Facebook groups and find a friend, find a broker buddy you can work along with. Now, before we go on to the questions, I just want to give a little introduction for the next part of the course, which will be next Friday. Before you even start to go on this path of trying to break into being a yacht broker, take a good look at yourself in the mirror. Ask yourself, who am I? How old am I? What really is my life experience? And according to your realistic abilities and experience, decide then what your next steps should be. In my experience, there are three categories of people. There's the complete starter. Let's say somebody who's just left university, somebody who's maybe had a few weeks or months of work, but not really that much. So I'm talking about very young people, complete starters. Then you've got people who've been in business for quite a long time, either as a factory worker or as a salesman or any kind of job, and I'd call them the dissatisfied worker. Are you just dissatisfied with your life and you want something a bit better and yacht brokerage looks amazing? Is that who you are? Well, if it is, then you've got some life skills to bring along with you, and we'll be looking in next week's course about how you can use those life skills to accelerate your career into yacht brokerage a little bit more quickly. And the third, of course, is the career builder. You may be very successful in what you're doing and have some great life skills. It's just that you always want more. And right now, being a yacht broker represents more than what you already have. And that's great, because then again, you bring to the table a lot of life skills. And we'll be looking in future live streams about how you can harness those life skills in the best way to become a yacht broker. That's me done as far as the course goes. I've seen tons and tons and tons of questions and live streams. Oh my word, somebody's paid $100 here. Oh my word, just Daniel, just for saying thanks for doing this. Thank you so much. That's extremely generous of you. Really generous. Thank you very much indeed, Daniel. I hope it's of some, of some use to you. I really do. I'm scrolling down. Super Yacht Captain saying, yay, thanks. Daniel saying, thanks for doing this. Amanda Ashton. David, is it true you sabotaged Tristan's internet connection so it wouldn't clash with you? I certainly hope not. I certainly hope not. I know that Tristan was live streaming earlier today. We didn't do it at exactly the same time, but we've come pretty close. And thanks very much for the super chat, Amanda. Super Yacht Captain saying, sorry, Amanda, my upload speed is shot. Can't reconnect. Going to attempt on Sunday morning. Quick shout out to Super Yacht Captain. I absolutely love the fact that he's live streaming so much, because for a lot of YouTubers right now, it's really difficult because, in Tristan's case, he was doing some great content for his yacht, but right now he can't get onto the yacht and onto the water. So in the meantime, he's doing some fantastic live streams. So check out his channel, check out his live streams, and of course all his old videos too, if you haven't seen them. Just want to make sure before I go on that I haven't missed any live chats. I don't think I have. If anybody has put a live chat and I've missed it, please do let me know so I can find it. Asaf Kiviti, that's an interesting name. Where are you from, Asaf? Hi, can you explain why most yachts are built with steel hulls, although aluminium weighs less? Heason's known for building with aluminium hulls. Can you explain the difference? Thank you. Yeah, it's a good question. And aluminium has certain properties which can be very, very good. It's light, which is why Heason use it quite extensively, not on all of their yachts, but on some of their yachts. When you want a higher performance, aluminium is a great material to use because it's so much lighter than steel, and so you can afford to put bigger engines in and greater performance. Having said that, and without wishing to go too off topic, on that subject of engines, it's worth knowing that each hull has a hull speed which it cannot exceed. So you can't get the hull of a particular yacht and think that by putting huge engines in it, it will go quicker. All that will happen is it will achieve its hull speed, and then it will be incredibly inefficient, and it will just be burning fuel and presumably vibrating. It doesn't work that way. You have a hull with a hull speed, and you need to blend the material that you use for the build, whether that's steel, aluminium, or composite, with the engines that you use and the whole design. Wider, for example, is not a particularly fast yacht, but they use aluminium because the whole point of Wider is to give a very, very long range with a diesel electric power package. And for them, it was far better to use aluminium because it exploited that power package so much more than steel would. Steel, on the other hand, is great to use for a big displacement yacht that's going to be going all over the world, very, very long range cruising. It's going to be hitting quite heavy seas. So that's, hopefully that's given you a fairly sort of thorough answer. It'd be a good subject for a vlog, actually, and I could do a bit more research on it for you. Also greeting me, thank you so much. Rudy, hi from Belgium. Morris Marchand saying hi to Super Yacht Captain, hope you're well. Miracook, hi David, and I love all the little hand signs as well. Robert Fleming says hello. I'm looking for questions. Mel Broski, hello Dave, are you also the brokerage for AWOL? No, Tristan, I'm not the broker for AWOL, actually. I have to say, AWOL is for sale with International Yacht Collection. The broker's a guy called Kevin Bonney. He's a very, very competent and very, very experienced broker. So I choose my battles, and that's not a battle that I'm particularly going to go at. Usually, if I pitch on a yacht for sale that's been for sale for a long time, I tend to do it if I feel I've got something to bring to the table that the owner could really benefit from. IYC is a great brokerage. Kevin Bonney is a very successful broker, so I won't be bothering Tristan on that particular subject. The 100,000. Hi David, you said to remind you which four. Oh yes, you did. I did say that. You said to remind you which four of your favourite yachts would you morph into one. I haven't given it any thought, but I really do need to give it some thought now. 4 yachts morphed into one. Oh, the Wider would have to be one because I love the design. The 150 Wider, I love the interior design as well as the exterior design. That would be one for sure. I also am a massive fan of the Custom Line Navetta 37 meter. I just think it's a very, very clever boat with a very, very clever layout. I'm also working at the moment on a video about a new Bonetti called the Bonetti Beyond, which is their Explorer yacht. And it's very clever. It's just a very, very clever layout. I'm amazed actually by the layout. And I can't really make Explorer yachts without talking about Cantiello de Marchi. I just think they're a great company. They're great people. I love the quality of what they do. So those 4 yachts, if I could get a way of putting them all together, I'd be very, very happy with that. Michael Schneider says hi from Germany. BB from Colorado, we love your channel. Thank you so much, BB, all the way from Colorado. Gianpaolo Rufo, hi, on a 100-foot yacht, how's the market trend? More into displacement or planing hull? Furthermore, steel or composite? Definitely composite, market trend. 100-foot is a hugely competitive sector of the market with big names and little names competing over it. But it's competitive because there's a big demand for it. There's a very, very big demand for 100-foot composite production yachts. And, Ferretti Custom Line, Ferretti themselves, Riva, Azimut Grandi, Bonetti. And then you look at the In Holland, Van der Valk, who's a very interesting builder. Guy Quash, there's just so many. It's such a choice. If Gianpaolo, if you're looking to buy a 100-foot yacht, I'd invite you to come with me to the Cannes Yacht Show. That's a great yacht show to look at 100-foot yachts. Everybody's there. Anton Kramer, ain't it a growing process? Instead of an industry we think we can jump in? As a broker, trust and experience is your most valued asset. You can't build with that with good intentions only. Anton, that's such a smart comment, and you are 100% right. And hopefully you'll stick with us as we go through the course in the coming weeks and months, and you'll see that that's very much a point that I drive home during the course. You can't jump into being a yacht broker. And that's part of the reasoning behind you need to, first of all, look at yourself in the mirror, figure out who you are, and then kind of decide whether it's a path that you want to take, because it's not going to be a quick journey. It's going to be a long journey, a tremendously fun journey, and rewarding if you do it in the right way. But nonetheless, a journey. It's not, you're absolutely right, not something you can just jump into. Second star to the right, off to a great start. Will you be giving away any of the mugs behind you? Oh God, I've lost the question. The thing is that this scrolls down and I'm trying to hold it in position. Best question of the week? No, I won't. Not because I mind giving mugs away. I'm more than happy to give mugs away. It's just that the thought of having to pack them, post them, I'd say yes with all best intentions, and then I'd let you all down. So sorry, second star to the right. I'm not going to be doing this. Super Yacht Captain wants to know where these strip clubs are that I speak of. You know where they all are, Tristan. Patrick, from your own personal experience in the 80 to 90 foot range, would you go for Pershing or Mangusta, and why? Love the question, Patrick. I'm going to upset somebody no matter which way I answer that, so I'll give you a diplomatic answer, which is that I am massively impressed with the Mangusta build quality, hugely impressed with it. And I'm massively impressed with the Pershing styling and speed and the exclusivity of Pershing as well. And I'm not actually saying in that Mangusta has a better build quality than Pershing, because I don't believe that they do. But I think what I'm saying is that I'd find it really difficult to choose between the two. I think if I'd woken up in the morning and styling was super important to me, I'd go for Pershing, because I do like the Pershing style very, very much. And I would buy a brokerage yacht rather than a brand new one. So I'd definitely go and sea trial it and check it out before I bought it. You're going to get me in trouble, Patrick, asking me questions like that, especially when I'm talking to Pershing and Mangusta about doing videos for them. Ruben Hag, how's Sweden in the industry generally? Quite a few buyers from Sweden, and quite a few sellers. It's a significant country on the yachting scene. Rebel Soul, if someone came to you to buy it, you could be involved for AWOL sale, right? Absolutely right. Yeah, if somebody came to me and said, I'm looking for a San Lorenzo 122, I'd be happy to recommend AWOL. I'd be happy to go with them, introduce them to the broker, to Tristan, take a look at the yacht. Very, very happy indeed. And that's usually the way that brokerage works, by the way. Usually you have one broker representing the seller and another one representing the buyer. That's 90% of the time, that's the case. Erin Thor says, I could see myself selling yachts, but I lack your oh so very cool accent. Can you teach that? Erin, if you were English, you would know that my accent has got a little bit of Wolverhampton in it, which is not very cool. There are actually people with far cooler accents than I out there, especially in the yacht brokerage industry. Mara Cook, when will you tell us more about Palma Johnson? I'll tell you more about Palma Johnson when Palma Johnson do something that I think is worth talking about. And at the moment, they're quite quiet. I love what they've done. I dearly love what they've done, and their designs, and especially their link up with Dan Leonard. Actually, very, very sadly, the CEO of Palma Johnson passed away at the beginning of this year, Mike Kelsey. And I don't know what effect that will have on the business. The owner of the company is a gentleman called Tim Mohammed. and he's very actively involved, and he's a very smart cookie. So I'm not saying it's the end of PJ. I really hope it's not, and I don't believe it will be. But they haven't done anything that I'm aware of recently that's sort of vlog worthy. And I don't have any Palmer Johnsons for sale at the moment. Izumi we sold. That was a very successful video, and that was a lovely, lovely boat. Red Electrician, what prevents smaller ships from crossing the Atlantic? Is it range or the waves? And could a refueling ship halfway help? The refueling ship idea is not a bad one at all. I've heard a lot of people talking about that, but I'm not aware that it's anything that's being done. Smaller ships do cross the Atlantic, fairly small yachts. I think if you're on a smaller yacht, you've got to face the fact that you are going to be bashed around a little bit if you hit heavy weather. Obviously, it's a lot more comfortable to be in a bigger yacht, but yeah, smaller yachts cross the Atlantic quite regularly. Carl Palf got me all excited there. I thought he was talking about 150 million super chat there, but no, he's saying if I had 150 million and bought a yacht at 50 million, would it be possible to run it for years as a private owner? Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could run it for the rest of your life on that. I mean, it's a good question, because there's some famous American billionaire, I can't remember who he was, but he said something like perfect financial planning is being put into your coffin with your last cent going to pay for your funeral. And I don't think that's entirely wrong, to be honest with you. And 150 million, yeah, I mean, you could buy a 50 million pound yacht and have a whale of a time probably for the rest of your life, but maybe not be left with too much towards the end of your life. Super Yacht Captain, on a serious note, what does it take to start one's own yacht brokerage company, legalities, etc.? You know, the answer to that, Tristan, is really quite disgraceful, because it doesn't take much. In Florida, you need to have a Florida broker's permit. And from what I gather, that's a fairly easy thing to get. But in most of the world, you really don't need anything. And it's kind of the curse of the industry that a lot of people will literally start a limited company, or not even that. They'll go through the internet, copy and paste listings of yachts. They'll get all the photos and they'll get all the technical details. They'll put them on to the multiple listing sites such as Yacht World or Yachtco. And actually Yacht World are disgraceful because they let anybody do that. Yachtco are far, far more strict and professional about it. But you go on Yacht World and you see every Tom, Dick and Harry sitting from behind their armchair advertising yachts, which sometimes aren't even for sale. And it's a real problem, and it's something that I and my colleagues are constantly having to check on to make sure that our listings aren't being robbed by these opportunists. And I'm all for people trying to be yacht brokers, if that's what they focus on and go about in a serious, professional, transparent manner. What I hate is people sitting behind their armchairs just robbing photographs, robbing listings when they've never been on board the boat. They don't know who the owner is. They don't know anything about the yacht. They don't know what condition it's in. They don't know the first thing about how to put together a contract. And they're just really hoping that some wealthy guy will be duped into going to them. And then they come to me because I've got the listing, and it really annoys me, and it annoys a lot of other yacht brokers too. So yeah, it's somewhat of a problem in the industry that there's really no barrier to entry or whatsoever, and maybe there should be. Dejo Cornan, what would you say is the best trawler, long-time cruiser, onboard living? There's so many. I mean, I did a vlog about Nordhaven, and everybody told me off for the way I pronounced it, and I'm probably pronouncing it wrong now. But I don't know why I get the feeling, but I got the feeling that you're talking about a sort of a budget, long-time cruiser, onboard living. And Nordhaven just have fantastic quality to price ratio, and there's so many of them on the market. I have an inbuilt loyalty towards Cantiere de la Marche because I love the people there and I love what they do and I love their quality. But the fact is that at the moment there's not the choice on the market of their yachts that there is at Nordhaven. Gabriel Soanes, your name rings a bell. I think we exchanged comments on LinkedIn today. Hi from Germany. What about Piraeus as a brokerage destination? Also, can you comment on conversions? Athens, great brokerage destination, absolutely great. There are many good brokers in Greece. I recently sold the yacht, the Ferretti Maisu 2, with a Greek broker, Dimitri Kyriazakos from Yachts. Very professional outfit, very professional individual, and yeah, there's plenty of business to be done there. On the subject of conversions, I'm surprised that more people don't do yacht conversions. As you know, I've spent some time at the Icon shipyard in Holland, and that's what they specialize in. They also do complete constructions of new yachts, but they specialize in taking commercial vessels, like support vessels, and converting them into a luxury yacht. And to me, I find that a tremendously exciting project. I'm very, very surprised that more people don't do it. It makes a lot of sense to me to be able to do that. I think obviously you'd need to spend quite some time surveying the yacht that's going to be converted first, but once you've done that, you've got a very exciting project on your hand. Emanuela Di Mari, how are you, Emanuela? I'm sorry that I don't get back to your emails as quickly as I often should. Thanks, very interesting. You say, how do you contact a potential owner? We'll be going into that in detail later on in the course, but without wishing to sound too obvious, it's all about networking. And as somebody else commented earlier, this is not going to happen from today till tomorrow. It's something you need to work on with a very specific strategy, and we'll be talking about that strategy in the course in future weeks. But it's down to networking, Emanuela. It really is. And if you put yourself in a location where there are owners, and you do the right things, you will end up meeting them. You will end up getting their telephone numbers, their email addresses, and then after that, it's a whole new subject about how you nurture that relationship. Gabriel Zoanos, for example, the famous Christina O, the Onassis yacht, is a conversion from a military vessel to a private yacht. Doesn't it make sense to get an old cruise liner or something similar? Completely agree with you. Totally agree with you. It does make a lot of sense to do that, and I don't know what to say because I'm surprised that more people don't. The feed has gone down again. I need to put it back up. I'm going to focus on questions here, and again, don't be shy with that super chat if you want to prioritize your question, because I don't know if I'll be able to get through all of these. Morris Marchand, do you have to undergo any qualifications or validation course for entering yacht brokerage, and what are they? Now, as I said before, it's disgraceful, the low barrier to entry in becoming a yacht broker. It really is. In some parts of the world, like America, you do need your license. In Italy, you need to be a mediatore marittimo. So in Italy, there's a barrier to entry. But sadly, elsewhere, there's really not. And that's what makes this course, I think, so exciting, that there is hardly any barrier to entry. The difficulties in becoming a yacht broker are not that you have to get a degree in something or you have to pass a course for now. The barriers are totally different, and those are the ones that we'll be discussing as this course continues. DV 100,000, thanks David. I like the Serena 88 Master Suite with stairs going into the bow. The Naretta Custom Line 28, the garage tender doubles up as a beach club, for example. I love both of those boats. The Serena is absolutely awesome. I spent some time on it at the Cannes Yacht Show, and the Naretta as well. They're both yachts which I would love to sell because I do genuinely feel they're just fantastic vessels. Manshi Gopala, how has the market been affected by the pandemic? Pretty damn badly, I have to say. Pretty awful. The charter market has been decimated, of course, because people can't travel to go on their charter. And so my colleagues who are charter brokers, my heart goes out to them. And what they're doing right now is they're building their relationships with their clients, just phoning them saying, how are you? Is everything okay? Are you managing? This is a time when really you just have to build the relationship with the client, because for now, it looks like not much charter is going to go on and sales are going to be affected dramatically. Now, Italy is starting to restart building yachts from next week. And in fact, Ferretti and a few other yards have already started. The stats in Italy are looking encouraging. I sincerely hope that by the summer, the market will start to be moving again. But in answer to your question, it's been very, very adversely affected. Cyril is from Almeria, beautiful part of the world. Hi, Cyril. Second start to the right, we'll be covering making first impressions. It's not in the course, making first impressions. It's not. It's probably something I should talk about at some point, but I don't want this course to be one of those kind of, I'm a sales guru, look at me, this is how you sell a yacht, because it's not. It's a course about how to get into the industry, how to get your foot into the door. And the only time I talk about first impressions is when we talk about how to get on the radar of a yacht brokerage. If you want to work for a big brokerage company, what you need to do to get their attention. That's about as far as I go on the making first impressions goes. Dave Dillon has sent me a super chat, which I can see on my iPhone, and I'm sure I'll see in a moment here on my computer screen. Here we go. It would be nice if you and Tristan, thanks first of all, David, for the super chat. That's very, very generous of you. It'd be nice if you and Tristan could do a collaboration on a charter. You showing how to decide the boat to charter, and then Tristan showing from the passenger's view the experience on the boat. Yeah, you know, that's a really good idea. And Tristan and I talk quite regularly about collaborations, and we've got quite a few ideas. I think typically what happens, because Tristan's will be very busy when he gets back to his yacht, and I'm very busy with yacht brokerage, I think if 1 out of every 10 of our ideas materializes, that will be very exciting. And some of the ideas we've got are very good. And I like that idea about charter. And in fact, one of the things we're talking about is kind of along those lines. So time will tell if that materializes. The Carnival Angel, David Sweet here from beautiful Hot Springs, Arkansas. I love to hear where you're all from. It's really cool. Love your videos. Is there a request from a client that was way too outrageous that you've seen or heard of? Keep up the good work. Yeah, the outrageous requests I get all the time is when people try to buy the boat for like 20% of the asking price. Apart from that, outrageous requests, I think outrageous requests come more often with charter rather than with sales. No, actually, I'll tell you one of the most outrageous requests. I sold a yacht years ago to a guy from Bulgaria who literally set foot on board, and after he bought the yacht, and said to the captain, let's go to China. It was either China or somewhere incredibly far, and he had absolutely no concept of what that involved for the crew, for the yacht, the logistics, and he was outraged that the crew just didn't snap to it and take him exactly where he wanted to go. We've got another super chat. Again from Super Yacht Captain. Thanks, Tristan. Without compromising yourself, I need to give you a lot of beer when I see you next, Tristan. Which is the most difficult shipyard that you've worked with when buying a new yacht with a client? I'm afraid you wasted your money there because I'm not going to tell you. But what I will tell you is this. There are some shipyards, not many at all, that I never mention on my YouTube channel. And I don't mention them either because I really feel that the quality of their yachts is abysmal, and I could not, in all good conscience, recommend them to a client. Reason number one. Reason number two is when they are just such difficult people to deal with that I'd rather not deal with them, because why would I want to, even if they have a good solid product, why would I want to introduce my clients to a shipyard when the people are either so stuck up that they don't even show respect to clients, or if they are so inefficient that they don't answer emails and they won't give me the information that I need in time, I'd rather just not deal with them. So I guess the answer to that question is that those yards are conspicuous by their absence from my channel. Thanks for the question. Looking down, I'm still figuring out how these questions work, because as they scroll down my computer screen, sometimes I'm looking at them, they'll suddenly jump. And there's loads of questions here to get through. Daniel Duarte Givot. Since a buyer can Google basically all yachts for sale, how can a new broker pitch to serve a potential buyer? Now, that's a good question. And I think you have to be careful, Daniel, what you do recommend to clients. So if you know that you've got a qualified buyer and you have some sort of relationship with him, and what I mean by that is it's not just an email, he knows who you are and you have some sort of relationship with him. I personally wouldn't recommend yachts to him that I haven't been to see. Now, that does narrow the field enormously, but most buyers will appreciate it when you take the time and you say, look, I went this morning and I took a look at AWOL. I went this morning and I took a look at this yacht or that yacht, and it was fantastic. I met the captain, Tristan. Oh, he looks after it so well. He told me that they're doing this work on board, that work on board. He told me last year they spent this much and they upgraded this system. But I looked at yacht B and I have to tell you, it was hanging in rags and the engine room was disgusting and there was ill. So I guess my answer is, to start with, of course, it's more tough because you narrow the field, but try to be authentic and talk about the yachts that you know rather than just Googling a whole host of yachts. Or if you do Google a whole host of yachts and you put those to the buyer, say to him, would you like me to view any of these on your behalf and give you my report back? When you're starting out, and if budget is an issue, I've had experiences where buyers are quite happy to pay your fare, your airfare and your board and lodging to go and look at a yacht on their behalf, because certainly, with all respect to you, because it's true of me as well, your time is worth a lot less than the buyer's time. That's usually the case. And you may be also geographically closer. So yeah, it's tough when you get started out, but that's my advice to you. Mel Broski asks a very good question. It's a question that I'm sure will come up as well in future vlogs. He says, I agree with Rebel Soul. What if we wanted you to be our broker for buying AWOL? How would that process work? Let's just say we trust you. Let's just say we trust you. I hope you do trust me, Mel. Yeah, the way it would work is that I would take you to see the yacht. Or if you weren't able to come with me, I'd go on your behalf and I'd give you a very honest appraisal of what I feel. I'd try to get the answers for your questions. I'd represent you in trying to negotiate in the best price that we possibly could. And then if the sale went ahead, the commission is split. Typically, but not always, typically 60% of the commission goes in favor of the buyer's broker. So in this case, it would be me. And 40% goes in favor of the seller's broker. So in this case, it would be Kevin at IYC. Now, after that, the broker has to share the commission with their respective brokerage house. And that can vary on what that commission split is. So, you see a 10 million, and this is something we'll talk about later on in the course, but you see a 10 million euro yacht and a broker sold it. Don't assume they just made €1 million, because there's lots of splits down the line and negotiations to go through before they actually get their part of the commission. I hope that answers your question. Saludos from Fair Calzada from Tijuana, Mexico. Fantastic. BB says, what experience and backgrounds do high-level brokerage firms such as yours look for when hiring new brokers? Again, this is something we'll go into in more depth later on in the live stream course in future weeks. There's a lot of things they look for, but there's one thing that trumps everything, and that is, do you have clients? Do you have clients? Of course, that's not all there is to it. There's a question of ethics and the way you present yourself and will you fit in with the team. But the thing that trumps everything is whether you can bring clients to the brokerage. Erin Thor, you mentioned Wider. I love their design. Haven't they changed hands like 3 times in 2 years? I'm thinking that's a bad thought. No, they've not changed hands 3 times in 2 years. They've changed hands twice, but really only once. What happened, and I was very closely involved with this, very, very closely involved with this. Wider was founded by Tilly Antonelli, who's the founder of Pershing, which was then bought out by Ferretti Group. till he founded it. We found a buyer for one of his yachts, which is a very, very wealthy Malaysian individual. And I can tell you who he is because it's very, very public knowledge. Tan Sri Lok Thai from the Genting group of companies. He bought not just the yacht, but also half of the shipyard. And he ended up, in fact, buying out Tilly. So in my eyes, that's really only one change of hands. Then he basically decided it was not for him. Yacht building is an incredibly expensive business, and usually you make quite a few losses before you start to make profits. And I don't think he was quite expecting that. So then now a new group of investors, Italian investors, headed up by a great guy called Marcello Maggi, who's got a lot of experience in yachting, has bought the company off of Tan Sri and off of Genting Group. And they have, for the time being, they certainly don't look like they're going to be selling it anytime soon. They've got some great new projects. They're starting to build a 180-foot yacht. So that's the brief history of Wider, and I can tell you with great authority because I have been very close to them and very close to the whole process as it happened. Alexei Belusov, and I apologize every time I get people's names pronounced badly. What are your thoughts on those people who don't steal but use those images on their own site for lead generation? Totally sure what you mean, because if you take an image from that somebody else has paid to have produced and it's on their website or it's elsewhere on the internet, and you take it and you put it on your website, you've pretty much stolen it. So that's my opinion of that. That's my opinion of that. I just think if people are serious about wanting to be a broker, they should go and get their own yachts to sell, and or ask permission, because we're not always averse to giving our permission to small brokerage companies if they bring something interesting to the table. So if you were to write to me and say, David, I'd love to advertise Serenity, the Mangusta 165 Mangusta that you've got for sale, can I use your images? Can I use the specs? I'd take that request on its merits, and I'd look to see what you're bringing to the table. You may have a very, very niche market that I can't access. You may be living in China, speak Chinese, and have a Chinese website. Do you know what I mean? So then I would most likely give you my permission to do that. But if you just whip the photo off of the internet and stick it on your website, no, in my opinion, that is stealing. Mel Broski, do most captains stay with the yacht when it's purchased by another owner, or is that owner required to find another captain that's not used to that type of yacht? Most owners, I think, stay with the owner. If the owner's moving up in size, they stay with the owner. When you purchase a yacht, you should never assume that you get the crew with it, even if the crew aren't going to stay with that owner. Because what happens is the crew have to sign a termination of their contract. They have to sign to say they're not owed any money when they leave. And then it's very much up to them what they do. They can go to you as the new owner, or they might go to a totally different yacht. So that whole thing is kind of up in the air and open for negotiation. Joe Bradley would love to find out why smaller yachts don't put an extra deck below the main deck, like Ulysses, Dilbar, etc. Would add so much volume without making the yacht top heavy. Makes sense to me. It does make sense. And as a matter of fact, I'm developing at the moment a video which I'll be publishing about the new Bonetti Beyond, which has done just that. They've gone down to the depths that they possibly can of the yacht to create an extra deck. It's such a clever idea. I can't wait to publish the video. And often on other yachts, or smaller yachts, you'll lift a platform in the bilge and you'll find a huge area that's sometimes used for freezer space or for storage, but not very often another deck. We have another super chat from Rudy Degelt. Thank you, Rudy. What direction turns the yacht industry? continue diesel engines, turn to electric or sail. Sorry for the translation if it's bad. No, it's fine actually. I understand exactly what you are saying. And it's definitely turning towards electric. One would think it would turn towards sail because there is a more environmentally friendly way of transport, but it's really not. I don't know exactly what the figures are, but the vast majority of sales every year are made by motor yachts or of motor yachts rather than sailing yachts. And definitely the industry is looking towards electric. They are very interested in diesel electric. They're very interested in hybrid. Wider has a new system coming out, which I still haven't found the time to research, but I need to because I need to produce the next Wider report video. But that's going to be a totally electric yacht. I was on a Zoom conference, and I just can't remember the individuals involved, but there's some real heavyweight yachting individuals, and they confirmed that if ever people could figure out the sort of hydrogen power for yachting, that would be the way to go. There are advancements being made in that, but there's still a long way to go yet. But diesel engines look to me to be on their way out. So that's going to mark a very interesting time in the yachting industry for yacht builders. And I spoke to a few yacht builders to try to get a heads up on which way they're going. They're all well aware that they need to change, but nobody's giving away what they're planning to do yet because they don't want to give a competitive advantage to their competitors. But great question, Rudy. Thanks for that. And thanks very much for the super chat as well. CB Frazier says, are you able to represent a buyer here in the US? Absolutely. And I have many, many times. Now with experience and with the time it takes to do my YouTube channel, I partner up with somebody on almost all of the deals I do. I partner with somebody. So if I had a buyer in the US, I'd listen to what they want and what they're looking for, and then I'd decide the best partner for myself to work with in the United States. Northrop & Johnson has a huge brokerage. We have a massive variety of personalities and know-how, both in the United States and in the Med. And so if you're in a sailboat, I'd find someone in the US who knows about sailboats. If you're looking for a new build, we've got people who've got experience there in new build, and I'd partner with them to give you the best possible service. Christopher Hodson, as for Explore Yachts, I remember a video on board a Cantiere de la Marque where they adapted the bow rail for the owner photographer to film wildlife. Well spotted, absolutely true. Gabriel Zoyanos says, is it possible to put together or make a video of a guide regarding flags of convenience and which one is recommended for each case? That's more, I think, for super yacht captain. More for a captain to do that, I think, than a broker. Carl Palf, your answer to my last question went down, not your fault, but 150 million and bought a yacht at 50 million. Can I afford to run it? Oh yeah, I gave a long answer to that actually. When you watch the recording of this, you'll get the whole answer, but the short answer was yes, definitely. I don't know if your accountant or a financial advisor would advise you to do that, but yeah, 100 million in the bank with a 50 million yacht, you could keep going for quite a long time with that. Mel Brosky, yeah, I understand, but also some captains are so used to or like the previous owner so much they want to stay with them, I believe. And you're absolutely right, Mel. A lot of them do, and that's what they do. They stay with the owner. Of course, only if the owner still wants them. That's an important consideration. But yeah, a lot. I think listening to Tristan talk about his owner, they have an amazing relationship. And I'm sure that while that's the case, Tristan will stay with his owner even when AWOL sells. I'm going to be really honest with you. When I don't know an answer, I'm just going to tell you I don't know, because Merricook says, what do you think of Rolls-Royce engines and navigation system? Not much at all. I know that Rolls-Royce make Kamiwa jets, which are the go-to jet for Mangusta and for most yachts that have jets, and they seem to be excellent, but that's about as much as I do know, really. I need to scroll back up. Wes Freeman, loved your interview with the founder of Silent Yachts. Do you have any updates? Yes, I do. My very latest vlog talks about an update from them, so go and check that out. The very latest vlog that I did, you'll tell it because on the thumbnail there's a picture of the Hans Steiger Trimaran and Ragnar the Explorer yacht, and it's called something like "What do these two yachts have in common?" But also I'll be continuing with the documentary series following the construction of the Silent AT as soon as the lockdown is over. Super Yacht Captain confirms that if AWOL sells the crew, and he will stay with the current owner onto the new yacht. And I should think so too. The three things that a yacht captain looks for is a good owner, a good yacht, and good pay. And I've always been told if you have two of the three, don't leave, stay. Lammy J, yachts for sale. With the current future economic climate looking as dire as it does, do you foresee consolidation within the industry in tough times ahead? Yeah, consolidation, absolutely, I do see, and tough times ahead. I think that's true for all industries. Consolidation is a part of industries growing and becoming stronger. And yeah, there's no hiding it. There's tough times ahead. But I think the industry is strong enough to weather the storm. And I have a feeling it'll bounce back a lot more quickly than it did from the 2008 recession. Freddie Baby, how much cheaper would it be to build one's own yacht? Buying the raw materials and using a production facility to assemble the boat, etc., excluding decorative times. An awful lot of Turkish owners do that. And if any brokers are listening to this, they'll be laughing because they know it's true. A lot of Turkish owners just get a shed, build their own yachts, and then next thing you know, you've got another brand on the market. My experience from what I've seen is it doesn't normally go terribly well for them. You can't beat experience. You can't beat going to a yacht builder that's already built 20, 30, 100, 1,000 yachts. It will almost always be better. So you may possibly be able to make a saving, but it's a massively high risk endeavor. There's Jerry from the Great Lakes of Ontario. Thanks for messaging. BB, as a follow-up to experience, would connections to ultra high net worth individuals be valuable, even if not marine related? For example, a network of clients as previous partner in a hedge fund. Oh my word, yes, absolutely, absolutely. The challenge that you have with that is that first of all, it's a great advantage, of course, to know high net worth individuals, especially if you've been a partner with them, and especially if you've been in a role where you've given them advice. I find that a lot of clients take a dim view of somebody who's been selling them high-end real estate, for example, then trying to sell them high-end yachts. They consider themselves as, they almost feel like they're being exploited a little bit. So you have to handle it with real kid gloves. You need to be very, very diplomatic about how you do it. But nonetheless, it's a great advantage. I'm going to do another 5 minutes of questions, and then we're going to have to knock it on the head, I'm afraid. So I'll try to scroll through these fairly quickly. Animist Channel says hydrogen is so problematic and dangerous. Even space companies try to avoid it. Boom. Several ways to blow up your boat or asphyxiate everyone aboard. That's why we don't see hydrogen-powered yachts for the time being. Rebel Soul says that Super Yacht Captains did do a flags video. So I think it was Gabriel was asking me about that. Check it out. I think we've just had another super chat. I don't want to miss that one. Alexi again. I should have gone into more detail in my previous question. I'm not trying to become a broker, but more find clients for brokers and simply pass the client's info to them. Thoughts on using their listings? Oh, I see. So you'd want to be an introducer. I see what you mean. Yeah, there's a big market in that. There's a big market in it. And I think it's a very difficult thing to do. However, people do it successfully. I've worked with introducers before who passes the client on to me. And if you have a way, Alexi, of meeting potential clients, yeah, you should feel free to work with brokers on that. I think you need to be cautious that everything's done in a transparent manner. It protects you that way, and it protects the broker as well. Have a pre-agreed commission arrangement where you get a percentage of whatever the commission is. Get it in writing. Get it in writing. Don't trust anybody. Don't even trust me. If you and I were to do something like that, which by the way is not something I want to do because it's not the way I do business anymore. I don't think it's a bad way of doing business. It's just I have other fish to fry now. But get a relationship with a broker, get it all in writing, get his approval to use his listings and his know-how. And yeah, knock yourself out. I get the feeling, Alexi, that you've got some sort of idea in mind on what you're doing. Check out my website, which is yachtsforsaleblog.com. You'll find my email address on there very, very easily. Feel free to drop me an email, and I'm happy to talk to you more in detail on that offline if I can be of any assistance. But again, I want to repeat to you, it's not something that I would want to do with you personally, only because I've got so many other projects on the go. But I can certainly help you, go in the right direction with that if I possibly can. Another couple of questions. Trying to pick out the best ones because I need to wind up in a moment. So Arnold says alternative fuels, hydrogen, LNG, are not widely available, even in the commercial shipping market, are in their infancy. Yacht manufacturers won't outpace adoption by the commercial fleet. You're absolutely correct and very wise, may I say, in what you say. The yachting industry is just not big enough to get ahead of what happens in commercial shipping, but it does take a lot of know-how from commercial shippings. It's one of the reasons why yacht manufacturers like Lursen are very, very exciting, because they have a very, very big commercial shipping presence and a military shipping presence, and they have such an amazing know-how. It's not for no reason at all that they are just up there at the top as far as building very, very large yachts, which are tremendous quality and very, very expensive and high quality too, are concerned. Martin Allen says, seeing you on Facebook, would it be an idea to show charters from top of range to bottom? I'd rather charter a good boat than a good hotel. Oh my word, I agree with you there. Yeah, good yacht over a good hotel any day is much, much better. It's a whole different experience. I'm not quite sure what the Facebook connection is with that, Martin, but yes, thanks for bringing it to everybody's attention. I do have a Yachts for Sale blog on Facebook as well. And recently, actually, I've got a social media manager to help me to increase my Instagram and Facebook following. I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to have to sign off, I'm afraid. But thanks so much to everybody for your attention. The last question is, hang on, there are more questions coming up now. Okay, how many custom projects have you worked on, and do you have a favorite naval architect, firm or individual? So I'll answer that. Custom projects as a broker, I've only worked on one, but it was a very, very, very big one indeed. And after that, it's all been brokerage yachts rather than new builds. However, I worked for many years for the CRN shipyard, which does semi-custom and full custom projects, and it gave me a really good grounding in what it takes to build a fully custom yacht. For a yacht broker, it's great to sell a new build. It really is, because you get paid on the stage payments along the build process, which means that you've got cash flow, which is wonderful. However, it's a big headache. It takes up a lot of your time, and you need to be constantly present, and there's always conflicts and friction going on, even with the best of yacht builders. So it's a very time-consuming process, but a wonderful process to be involved with. With that, I'm going to sign off. I thank you so much. I feel like it's been a successful first breaking into brokerage. I hope that you found it interesting. I shall be here again, same time, same place, next week, 6 o'clock on Friday, to go into part 2 of breaking into brokerage. So please do tune in. And I'm now going to try and figure out again how to turn this camera off.